Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Strategy Guide, where we show you how to get strategic victories and tactical victories in your favorite video games. Hey guys, I'm 12 Warlords Gaming here, back with another episode of Strategy Guide. Today we'll be doing the Undead and Warlords 2 Rise of Demons. And for this one, it's a little bit different, as for most of our units, we started out either somewhere at the top of the map of Beneral, on the left or right side, and swept across. It's going to be a little bit different, and you're going to be attacked a little bit more now that you border a lot more territories to begin with. But we're going to get into that. Now, the main thing I want to talk about is the Hail Bearders in this game, and for this faction, are a little bit unique, as they have the normal helmets, upgraded armor, and balanced blades. But this one has a chance of weakening the enemy. Now, of course, weakening the enemy, what does that mean specifically? It reduces the damage that they deal or take. It really depends upon the type of unit that's doing it. Usually the weakening spell is usually done by a magic caster. Now, for starters, we want the Skull Launcher, of course, because that is a siege unit that will become very handy when we do our siege on castles. Of course, we're going to get our Ladder Man as well, get the upgrades for it as needed. Don't forget that you can always grind out and get money as needed for this game, as you definitely need to go ahead and attack a territory surrender just before you win, and constantly keep doing that until you get money enough to buy whatever new units you need. Now, of course, this is the Necromancer, which enchants the sites that are cursed, apparently. But this one has a little bit different with their spells. Telekinesis is power to lift the power of an enemy via the mind and then slam him to the ground. Pretty much this one just does minor damage but knocks over people. Other units such as battering rams can do that as well, just knock over a person, or hammer, or the melee hammer unit that the Human Alliance has will also do that as well. Although it's a melee unit and does more damage, but the whole point is that if you knock over an enemy, sometimes a fast unit can move past them, and that's why you would see an enemy, one of your units almost all the way over onto their side, and then have an enemy right behind them. When usually if you were over onto that side, there'd usually be no enemies behind you. Now, terror just makes people run away in fear. Infects enemy with disease, which will weaken the units until possible death. So it weakens the unit, so it affects them, gives them weakness, so they reduce the damage that they take, as well as slowly kill them. Raise the dead can raise skeletons out of recently dead enemy corpses. So if an enemy corpse is still on the field, I guess you can raise the dead. This is what I like about this one. This one has a more unique types of spells, mainly the raise dead. I know it's a common unit, it's not shared, it's not all of them have the same spells and the same stuff like we do for the Hail Bearders, Archers, Swordsmen, and Spearmen, but this one makes it unique with its types of abilities, as it can make people sick and whatnot. Now, of course, what I would want is definitely getting a Scythe Warlord and the melee. Another melee unit. I prefer the Flailer, as it's sort of a unique unit, as well as I think this is like the only faction that has it. It has very dangerous attack, but the fact that it's on a chain and that most flails in medieval times have a little bit of a longer range, the melee range is really what's the best part about this unit. So if someone sends like a good melee unit such as a Hammerman at you or something, that Hammerman can definitely do a lot more damage, probably more damage than your Flailer can do. But what your Flailer can do, seeing as it has the increased range, is probably attack it first, and that might give you an advantage. Now, This one does curse, 5 chance of weakening the enemy. Upgraded armor. These ones are pretty similar to the warlords that the high elves use, although they don't use scythes like on the end of their scythe blades for their units as well. Now, what I do want to talk about is the base melee range for your mounted units and your speed is really a good thing and is really key if you ever find yourself in a situation as to where you're going to need this. Now, as you guys can see here, you start out next to many different places. You're next to the Men of the West, Mountain Trolls, Orcs of the South, and like, you got Human Alliance, Demons, like, you're everywhere. So what you probably want to do for this is probably attack the Human Alliance, go down, then go over here to the what else? Orcs of the South next, then the Men of the West, which is actually my favorite faction to play as. Then you want to go up to the High Elves and probably sweep around here, as you probably will not be able to take on the Demons at first, because they're level 57 in terms of difficulty. 57% difficulty, whereas everything else is about 5 or 7%. It really depends upon the area in which you are attacking. But for now, we're just gonna go against and attack the Human Alliance. So what I want to show you is that the Skull Launcher is definitely not something you want to use in combat on open field. In a siege battle, you definitely want to do this. Now, I'm gonna whoops, I accidentally sent a ready charge in. But for now, that's what I wanted to show you. So that your melee units, with their speed and their long melee range, can attack someone from a good distance and knock them over. So that one pretty much made it to the other side and technically didn't actually kill a unit. Although the second one did, because it was weakened by the first one. So your cavalry is probably one of your best weapons to use in open field battle. I'd also say your necromancers would be as well. But these good units take time to summon, and people can get across if you don't summon enough units and whatnot as well. One of the main things is that you probably won't have to rely on your archers enough, but if you're in a situation where the battle is going to be pretty even, but where one of your guys is going to walk away close to death, you can change the favor of the combat outcome into your favor by also supporting your troops as well. Now what I'm going to do here is, in a minute, show you what the Scythe Whirler will do. It can pretty much, some of its attacks can one-hit people, but one of the best things is that it can knock people back. Not knock down to where they can knock them over like that and then walk over them, but so much as push them back closer to their side as well. Don't forget, Whirlers have a great melee range when they swing it around, because of the way that the weapon's designed, they can swing it forward and still do damage. But to me, it seems like if you want to be a unit, a Whirler, you would have to do a lot of, like, training to fling it around safely and whatnot. Okay, so now the flail pretty much just has a lot more melee range, as it was able to attack it almost looks like it was able to attack the spearman first. And so does the axeman. The fact that these things can knock people down, and that they have a great melee range, means that you can pretty much counterbalance something. If they do like a ready charge with fast units, like a scout or something at you, these guys can swing their, like, flails, knock them back, and bring it to a dead halt. A spearman with their sprint charge coming at you, it can probably swing and hit it before it hits you, and bring it to a dead halt as well, which is sort of good. A fast unit charging at you will definitely be slowed down by these flails. So, they're pretty good against cavalry, but, even though that they have good melee range, I wouldn't expect them to do... I would expect them to do a little bit better than most melee units against giant units such as the giant demons or the giant trolls that the mountain trolls and the demons have. Although it's not the optimal unit to use to fight them, it is still good. Probably you want to use a mage, as they can launch many different spells and like weakness and whatnot that could weaken them, and then use a flail if you wanted to. Now, of course, if you guys watch my previous ones, you'll know some of the strategies that I've talked about that are pretty common that you use in all of that you should consider when sieging all castles, which are outnumber in one lane, poison the castle tactics. If you don't know what those are, I'll leave a link to my strategy guide playlist, and you can watch all my other Warlord 2 videos that I've made for strategy guide, depicting the way in which those tactics should be applied for this. Now, for me, I'm going to focus on 3 different areas because I want them to pull units into 2 or 3 areas. Now, the reason for this is because then they have to focus on 3 different lanes, and that makes it easier for me to send all units down one lane and try and control it. Now, as you guys can see here, this Hammerman is getting destroyed by my Flailer because it has a lot of power and a lot of range, which is why it's good against high damaged melee units. Are like pretty weak to this because of its melee range. Like it's just unstoppable. I also like to note my catapult or my skull launcher is not actually moving, as it's already within range of the castle. It has a slow rate of fire, much slower than any other catapult, but it sort of makes up for the fact that it's at a range, which makes it easier to protect it, unlike most units, which would have to be somewhere about halfway down the lane before it can even reach them or be in range, such as the demon's fire towers would. But in this case, that's not a need or a necessity for this. In this case, it's pretty much almost acting like an artillery unit that can fire at things at long range. I'm going to actually summon 2 here. As you guys can see, my flailer units are definitely just like staying on the outside and hitting them before they can move in. Now that's pretty a good idea to do, because if any type of melee unit you send to a castle can easily be supported by your skull launcher's ability with their long range. Like they have they probably have more range, I would say, almost the same amount of range as an archer. Yeah, they have a good range. They have not as much as an archer, but they're pretty close, and it's pretty good range for a siege unit as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to recap. What you want to do now is pretty much finish off Human Alliance, go down to Wood Elves, then go down to Orcs of the South, go up to Men of the West, then over here to the High Elves, Orcs of the North, Mountain Trolls, then go for Demons. Probably is the best thing to do as you're sort of taking out, attacking to one side. Then once you establish like that you own those areas, go around and sweep. That way you don't have that many borders or worry about too many people attacking you. Because once I finish off the humans, I don't have to worry about them attacking me. And at that point, if I were to have this territory here, as you guys can see, I could be attacked from about 7 territories. Before it was about and before it was 8. It only lowers it by 1, but that's one less faction that can attack you. The less factions that are bordering you means the less likelihood that someone will attack you. Now, someone won't attack you every turn, but But the more factions that border you means the higher chance that someone will attack you. And more often than not, when they do attack, it usually is a castle, because those are much easier to defend. So defend if they were to have it. So it means it would be harder for you to take it back, but then again, it's also harder for them to take it over, because of course you're going to use the castle to defend yourself. Like, why put yourself out in an open field when you actually have a fortification to defend from and whatnot? So that's how it goes. I'm going to have to end this episode here. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Strategy Guide. If you did, leaving any comments, questions, or feedback for me in the comment section down below would be highly appreciated. And as it stands now, I just have to do the Wood Elves, the Orcs of the South, Mountain Trolls, and Demons left. Well, no, I already did the Demons. So it's just, Wood Elves, Orcs of the South, and Mountain Trolls. You guys can suggest which one I do next. I'm going to get to them eventually, but, fans suggested the most requested faction for me to do from my fans will be done next. So, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. And I will see you guys later. Bye-bye!